I moved to the US. Here's what I do differently. Hey everyone, welcome back to Moving to America. If you're new here, I'm your name, and I'm an immigrant sharing my experience about living in the United States, what worked, what didn't, and everything in between. Today's video is all about hindsight, the things I wish I knew before moving here, and what I would absolutely do differently if I had the chance to rewind and start again. So, if you're thinking about relocating to the US, or just curious about what it's really like, stick around because this might save you a lot of headaches. Let me start with a bold statement. Moving to the US isn't just about getting a new home or a job. It's like stepping into a completely new world with different rules, norms, and expectations. And if you don't prepare, you're bound to feel lost at some point. That feeling of being overwhelmed? I've been there. But the good news is, you don't have to stay stuck. Today, I'll walk you through what I learned the hard way and what changes I would make if I could do it over. First up, before I ever packed my bags, I wish I had spent way more time understanding the American healthcare system. Don't get me wrong, I had health insurance from day one, but I was totally unprepared for the insane complexity and costs involved. Did you know that the US spends more on healthcare per capita than any other country, but it's still so confusing to navigate? The first few months were a blur of medical bills I didn't understand, unexpected co-pays, and long waiting times for appointments. If I could do it again, I would research health insurance thoroughly, understand the terminology like deductible, copay, out-of-pocket maximum, and even better, connect with others who had already been through the system. Trust me, knowing how to shop for insurance before you arrive will save you serious stress and money. Now, here's a surprising fact. The US is huge, like really huge. But until I moved here, I didn't realize just how much the culture, laws, and even language slang change from state to state. I thought moving to any city in the US would be roughly the same experience. Spoiler alert, it's not. For example, I initially settled on a popular city on the East Coast without fully researching living costs and job markets. I thought the vibe would fit me, but the rent was sky high and the jobs in my field were scarce. I ended up having to move again within my first year. If you're considering moving here, do your homework on the state and city you want to live in. Things like cost of living, local economy, climate, even transportation. Speaking of transportation, here's another game changer. The US public transport system is very different from many other countries. Where I'm from, public transit is a norm. Buses, trains, subways, you can get around easily without a car. Here, it depends on where you live. In many American cities, especially outside major urban centers, having a car is not optional, it's necessary. I underestimated this so much. I didn't realize how much owning a car would impact my daily life, not just the expense of the vehicle itself, but insurance, gas, maintenance. If I had one tip about this, it's to think hard about whether the area you want to live in requires a car. If yes, budget for it ahead of time and start learning the driving laws immediately. Now let's talk about something that caught me totally off guard: social connections. Moving to a new country can feel incredibly isolating. Despite all the excitement, I hit the most lonely moments in my first year because I didn't build a support network fast enough. The US is a big melting pot of cultures, but forming deep friendships can take time and effort in ways I didn't expect. If I could rewind, I'd join community groups, clubs, or even local volunteering programs right away. These are amazing ways to meet people, practice English if it's not your first language, and create a support circle. And here's a bonus. Making connections will help you feel more at home and relieve that immigrant anxiety. One of the biggest surprises in this journey was how much the little everyday things add up to shape your experience. Simple stuff like grocery shopping, understanding the tipping culture in restaurants, or how to handle utility bills. Each one felt like a tiny puzzle I had to solve on the fly. For example, the US tipping culture is huge. If you're coming from a country where tipping is optional or a smaller amount, be prepared to tip 15–20% regularly in many service industries. I learned this the hard way when my server seemed really disappointed at the end of a meal. Knowing these social norms up front helps you feel more confident and avoid awkward or embarrassing moments. Another major lesson I learned is about work culture here. If you're relocating for a job, expect workplace norms to differ from your home country, not just the hours and tasks, but approach to communication, hierarchy, and feedback. Something that wasn't obvious to me at first. Americans generally value being proactive and taking initiative. Instead of waiting to be told what to do, it's often appreciated if you suggest solutions or ask for projects. At the same time, work-life balance varies a lot depending on industry and company culture here, so do some research. And don't be shy asking about these things in interviews. Here's something that might surprise you. Learning English fluently really does make a difference, even beyond day-to-day communication. Sure, many communities in the US are multilingual, but strong English skills open doors to better job opportunities, social interactions, and understanding cultural nuances. When I first arrived, I thought passing a basic English test was enough. I quickly realized that improving my language skills on an ongoing basis made my work and personal life so much easier. If your English isn't strong yet, consider enrolling in classes, watching American shows, or even just practicing with friends. Before I move on, I want to share a little story that perfectly sums up the unpredictability of moving to a new country. About 6 months after landing, I was invited to a potluck at a friend's house. I arrived with a dish from my home country, expecting to be the exotic addition, but was blown away by how curious and open everyone was. It made me realize something important. Americans are often more welcoming than media stereotypes suggest. Despite my fears of feeling different, I found there were people eager to learn about my culture, and that really helped me find a place here. It reaffirmed the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone and sharing your story openly. Alright, so you're probably thinking by now, how do I avoid the pitfalls and make the most out of my move? Here's a quick checklist of what I'd do differently if I moved to the US tomorrow. 1. Research the city and state thoroughly, focusing on cost of living, jobs, and transportation options. 2. Study the healthcare system and pick the right insurance plan before arrival. 3. Understand social norms like tipping and workplace culture ahead of time. 4. Build community connections early through clubs, volunteer work, or meetups. 5. Improve your English continuously to ease your transition. 6. Prepare financially not just for rent and bills, but also for car-related expenses if needed. 7. Finally, stay open-hearted and proactive in creating a new life here. Before I sign off, if you found these insights helpful, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people like you who are planning a big move. And I'd love to hear from you. What's the one thing you're most worried about or excited for when moving to the US? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be sure to respond and share some tips. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so right now because there's a lot more coming your way about visas, culture shock, and practical advice for life in America. We're building a community of movers and dreamers who want to make the most of this adventure together. So, in closing, moving to the US is challenging but full of possibility. Don't let the fear of the unknown paralyze you. Prepare well, stay curious, and remember that every step you take here is part of a larger, exciting journey. Thanks so much for watching Moving to America. Until next time, keep dreaming big and moving forward.